to turn around. Hello, I'm Peter Vaughan, and today I'm at the Henley Caravan and Motorhome Club site. It's the 18th of June 2024, and I mention the date because this is my very first test of a 2025 season motorhome. It's a prototype that I picked up yesterday from McLouis Newbury, and it is the latest version of the McLouis Fusion 379. It's had a complete facelift for the 2025 model year. At this point, I need to stress that word prototype. There may be some features on this van that aren't exactly the spec that you'll be able to buy from October this year at the NEC. Now, the first of those things is that you won't get a 2025 McLouis with this old shape Fiat cab. Yes, this shape Fiat cab goes at the end of this season, and the new one is rather controversial with lots of little slots and, well, it's a bit of an acquired taste, shall we say. But all 2025 McLouis will have that new Fiat cab, which does have some minor differences on the inside too, and the automatic gearbox option changes from a 9-speed to an 8-speed. So you still get the 140 horsepower engine as standard, and with this Fusion range you still get the choice of manual or automatic. Until October I can't give you an exact price for this vehicle, but the 2024 season model was 77,995, so I'd expect this improved version to be around the 80 grand mark. You'll find out at the show. What I can tell you is that you won't mistake this for the 2024, because that had a grey cab and white sides, completely different graphics. This one I feel looks a lot more modern. These the grey sides, the white cab, the quite dramatic graphics down the side, all looks a lot more modern to my eyes. One thing that I can confirm is that there will be 4 models in the 2025 season range. So the 330, which is quite compact but with a rear lounge, the 360 with a transverse double bed over the garage at the back, the 373 with fixed single beds, and this 379, which is the island bed model. And they're all 3.5 ton motorhomes, but with the option to upgrade to 3650 if you have the appropriate licence. This is what I would call a full-sized motorhome, so 7.45 metres long, 2.95 metres high and 2.33 metres wide. It comes with a 120 watt solar panel on the roof, and the alloy wheels are also standard, along with these nice framed habitation windows. Body construction is entirely wood free, so with polyester sidewalls, hail resistant roof and 7 centimetre thick insulation in the floor. The gas compartment will hold 2 13 kilo cylinders. That's your mains hookup, and then you've got your freshwater filler there. The actual tank is under the rear travel seat. Capacity is 115 litres for fresh, and then the wastewater tank, which is underneath, that's 135 litres and easy to drain because you've just got this simple T-handle just hidden under the side skirt. On the near side, of course, the main thing to note is that the habitation door is on the UK side, although this is an Italian-built motorhome, and unlike most continentally produced vans, it is UK-handed. You've got your TV aerial up there above the door, an awning light, and this door requires no external step. You've just got 2 small steps inside the van. It's also linked to your central locking, and then back here you've got your toilet servicing hatch. You do get a fly screen on the door and a reversing camera on the back panel. What you don't get with this van is any external gas barbecue point or external shower. But the last thing to look at on the outside is, of course, the garage. Now, the first thing to notice here is that the garage doors don't clip open in any way. In fact, they're actually on a spring, so if you open them too violently, they sort of swing back, but not far enough to hit you, fortunately. Inside the garage, well, you've got one main socket, just a light at this end, and a heater outlet. And then dimensions, well, it's 1.08 metres across at the floor and 97 centimetres high. But headroom can be increased. This innocuous little plastic piece, well, is a switch, up and down switches for the bed. Keep your finger on there for a little bit and watch the bed go up. And unlike some, it doesn't leave fresh air into, well, connecting the bedroom to the garage. At the front of the bed you have a fabric panel, and at the side these sort of timber slats. And when it's up at its maximum, well, headroom now is between 1.17 and 1.24 metres. The tie-down points are just fixed ones, one in each corner. And if you're wondering about what looks like a little table clipped to the back wall and these extra cushions, well, this particular van is a 5-berth and they make up the 5th berth in the dinette. But that's not going to be an option for the 2025 model year. So unless you buy this particular van, well, don't need those. Now, before I go indoors, just to mention that there is no spare wheel, like a lot of 3.5 ton motorhomes, but the garage can take up to 300 kilos, and maximum payload overall on a 3.5 ton chassis we're expecting to be a little under 500 kilos. On the 2024 spec, 4 to 8 kg, so hopefully it won't be far different from that. Inside, the layout in this Fusion 379 hasn't really changed. What has changed is the look, and it's a big change. Gone is the light woodwork, and in fact there's no wood anywhere to be seen. It's now white gloss and dark grey mostly, with a new quite on trend sort of textured finish on the wall of the washroom over there. So in terms of the lounge, you've got a half dinette or a sort of L shape with the 2 3-point seat belts there. You've got your 2 swivel cab seats, your fixed table, a window with a Roman blind over on this side, no window behind the single inward facing seat over there. Now you will note that one has got a seat belt on it, but that won't be standard for the 2025 season. They will be 4 travel seats, 4 berths. You've got a big opening overcab sunroof, and the upholstery has changed too, but I'm not sure about the finish, where it's a bit sort of wrinkly around the headrest there. You will get carpets, but in a way it almost seems a shame to cover this sort of plank finish on the floor. Other than that, another new feature is these pin lights in the base of the drop-down bed, and this material here underneath the bed, well, it's almost like corduroy. Now, it's actually quite unusual these days to find this type of layout, which once dominated in continental motorhomes. Far more common now is to have 2 parallel settees that can convert into rear travel seats. But I think this works much better if you're regularly carrying rear passengers, because the travel seats are pretty much instantly there. However, when it comes to dining, this table, well, it slides fore and aft and side to side. It doesn't twist, it doesn't fold, and it is quite large for the space. Good for family meal times, but the rest of the time it's a bit too dominant. You'll also notice that there's a different floor height between the cab and the rear seats, and the cab seats, even when they're lowered as far as they'll go, are taller than the rear seats. I found dining better from the cab seats. The table seems to be more attuned to the height of the cab seats than it does to the rear seats. When you're parked up on site, it is possible to sort of sit side saddle on this L-shaped sofa, but this isn't a lounge that encourages feet up sprawling. If you want to be a bit more recumbent, then probably lie on the bed at the back. Another thing to note is that although there's Isofix on this rear travel seat, you will need to check that larger child seats will actually fit, because this table doesn't remove. It's quite in the way. This isn't a big lounge. There's not a vast amount of space between the cab seat and this rear travel seat. Rear passengers do, however, have the benefit of a couple of USB ports just here. And then on site, if you want to watch telly, well, there's a bracket over the top of the fridge. Before we move into the kitchen, just to point out that there are top lockers on either side of the lounge, despite the drop-down bed above. Each of these limited to 10 kilos. Around the overcab, well, there's not really much storage. No shelves or cupboards on either side, just this open shelf at the front, which, well, maybe you could put a few things in there, but you'd have to be careful that they were sufficiently small and light that this lip was enough to keep them in place. If the lounge has had a bit of a facelift, well, the kitchen is more of a redesign. So the oven, which was up over the fridge, which we like as much as boiling our head in oil, is now much more sensibly placed down under the hob at a sensible, practical height. And it does include a grill, of course, the Thetford duplex unit. The hob too is new. It's a 2-burner can unit. Now, a lot of continental manufacturers seem to be switching to 2-burner hobs. Let me know what you think on that. I mean, their attitude is you're only ever going to use 2 rings at the same time. Do you really use 3 or 4? Let me know. So over on this side, we now have a new slimmer fridge, 142 litres from Thetford with automatic energy selection, and down at the bottom, a nice bottle drawer. Keep all your Veuve Clicquot nice and cool. Back on this side, well, it's just a very small cupboard underneath the oven, a much bigger cupboard over here under the sink, and that does include a cutlery drawer, but a cutlery drawer hidden in a cupboard is never ideal, and the cupboard sections underneath that go back a long way, so you're going to have to pack it in such a way that the things you really need don't slide back where you can't get to them. In terms of lighting, well, like the rest of the van, there's plenty of that. There's no specific directional reading lights in the lounge, but good lighting above the kitchen. No extractor, but you have got a main socket here. That's the only one in the kitchen, but there's another one over by the TV. Beyond the kitchen, it is the typical continental or island bed format. So you have the toilet area on one side, the shower on the other, and the toilet door does the usual thing of closing off the back of the van. Now you should be aware of the steps here. So it's about 17 centimetres up, stepping into the bedroom, and slightly more, about 22 centimetres, stepping up into the shower. Now the shower itself is a good size. I used it this morning. You've got folding doors, proper glazed doors, so no horrible shower curtain, decent enough water pressure. A new feature this year is the hanging rail, so you've got somewhere to hang wet clothes. You've got a little shelf there for your shampoo and your shower gel. You've got 2 drains in the shower tray. So all good news, apart from this substantial step in the shower tray. Now, I just about managed, but if you have big feet, you really will need to try that for size. Now, as well as using this door to shut off or separate the back end of the van from the front, then you've also got privacy to separate the ablutions from the bedroom. So not a proper door, but this concertina screen. Now, at first I thought, well, that's not as good as a proper sliding door system, but actually when you move around the foot of the bed, your bottom can move that too. So you have got enough room to squeeze around the foot of the bed with this closed, which I don't think you would have if it was a wooden partition. Over on t'other side of the van, well, it's a decent sized toilet compartment. Again, up a step, but once in here, there is room to use it with the door closed. Plastic white basin, well, it doesn't look very premium, but the rest of it is quite nice. You've got a very small roof vent above. The old model had a window, but that's been deleted. But you've still got plenty of storage, big mirror, toilet roll holder on the inside of the cupboard there. And this Thetford cassette toilet, well, it's on a very slight plinth. It's just about okay for me, but if you've got little legs, do try it for size. There's quite a lot of detailed change in the bedroom too, particularly the shape of the wardrobes and the steps at the side of the bed. Now, some bedrooms, well, they can have too many steps in them with island bed arrangements. This one's pretty good. You've just got a step at each side of the bed and they're nice size, so you're not going to fall down them, I hope. They also include a bit of storage on each side. Now, the bed itself is 1.92 metres by 1.47, or 6'3.5" by 4'10". It's quite a firm mattress, but I still slept comfortably. I didn't mind that. But if you like something a bit softer, you might need to add a mattress topper. You've got the windows with Roman blinds on either side and a small opening roof vent. Of course, those wardrobes on either side too. There is room to sit up, and you've got these nice flexible reading lights with built-in USBs as well. So it's a good size bedroom. You have got room to move around the foot. There is a secondary TV point at the end of the bed on that side, the near side, and you can also lift the end of the bed, just fold the mattress over, and you've got access into this large storage area underneath, and under a trapdoor in there you'll find the combi boiler. It's a combi 6E, so the more powerful 6 kilowatt one, and gas and electric. Another thing to note is that they've of course gone for this new textured wallboard, but there's a lot of these plastic screw covers, and I really think they need to get a better colour match than this. So that's one bed, but before I show you the other, I'd just like to ask you, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help, you know. So the electric drop down bed is of course reached by a ladder. You can see headroom isn't especially generous, probably just a little bit more than in some overcab beds in sort of traditional Luton bodied motorhomes. But the bed is 1.88 metres long by 1.23 metres at this end, 1.03 metres at the foot, where it narrows to go, well, to allow access through the door and to give space for the fridge. So in old money, 6'2" by 4'1.5" inch, narrowing to 3'4.5" inches. You have these touch on, touch off reading lights at the head of the bed, little storage pockets for a book or magazine or whatever, and plenty of ventilation because you've got your opening over cab sunroof at that end and a roof vent, traditional roof vent at the other side. So the only thing that will limit this use perhaps is the headroom, and if you're going to have children sleeping up here, then you have a kiddie net that goes all the way around. There's actually only 53 centimetres of headroom in that top bed, but the advantage of that is that I can sit underneath it. Obviously not where the cupboards intrude, but just here. If I put the kids to bed, you've still got the cab seats, so you could carry on an evening whilst they slept, hopefully. And, well, it's not too much of a Quasimodo affair to get out from underneath the bed. I think it's now time to go for a drive. So what's it like to drive this new McLouis Fusion? Well, no surprises really. It is your typical 7.5 metre Fiat Ducato motorhome. Typical Fiat, the ride is firm, but that does mean that it handles well. It feels nice and stable. We went down the M4 in it yesterday and it felt good on the road, but also that hard ride does mean there are rattles, and I'm afraid there are plenty of rattles, certainly on this prototype model. In terms of spec, well, I'd love to be able to tell you about the new Series 10 cab interior, but I think you might be disappointed when you do finally see it and see that there's really not that much change. To say the steering wheel I think's changed, but really not a lot. It's still got these hard plastics. They've not improved the sort of quality feel of the cab interior, so it still lags behind Mercedes Sprinter, VW Crafter, even the Ford Transit. In terms of spec that you get on the McLouis, it comes with this 9-inch Pioneer screen that does Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and of course your reversing camera. If you want sat-nav built in, it's an optional extra. Also in the spec for 2025 are front fog lights, the automatic air conditioning where you can set the temperature rather than this just on-off air conditioning, and you will also get an electric parking brake rather than the manual lever that we've got on this van. But it's still probably drive much the same. I've yet to have a serious go in a Series 10. I've driven one very, very briefly, but yeah, don't expect dramatic change except in the way it looks on the outside. So that's the 2025 edition of the McLouis Fusion 379. Will it make it onto your shopping list at this October's NEC show? If it does, I suspect some of the reasons will be that up and down bed at the back gives you the versatility of varying the garage space. You'll probably like the ensuite arrangement too, and the fact that it now has the oven in a sensible position low down in the main galley unit. You'll probably want it for its 4 berths too, and 4 travel seats as standard, and travel seats that don't require making up by adjusting sofas into travel seats. However, going for this type of lounge does give you less lounging space, so it's all a matter of priorities as usual. And of course, we wait to see what the final price not only of this model is, but of other 2025 season vans, and in such a competitive part of the market where there's a huge amount of choice in 7.5 metre low profile motorhomes with island beds, well, the McLouis will have to be priced keenly to match. I hope you've enjoyed this latest video, and we look forward to bringing you the latest 2025 season vans as soon as we can get hold of them, which hopefully won't be very long.